Streaming. Perfect. So, found it?
Yeah.
Well done. Probably go out at 3 then. Okay. So, hello viewer, how are you? I've got one viewer today, and one viewer is pretty cool. Right, I'm just going to eat my cracker. Okay. I'm just starting Unreal Engine in the background. Feel free to say hello. Right. Sit and watch me eat dry crackers, man. You're living the good life. Okay, let's start up Unreal Engine on my workbench for HE Wiki version 4.26. Yummy. Ah, Jesus, someone subscribed. Oh, it's Jamie. Hello, Jamie. Right. I do have a chat system that I can see what people are saying. Sometimes I don't notice because I'm like miles away doing stuff over here, but if you you know, say something in there, chances are I'll see it. Anyway, I'm just waiting for my project to load. Eating some crackers. Why am I eating crackers, you may ask? Well, the old pal Chris here is 49, and turns out a diet of nothing but extremely rich full-fat cheeses, red meat and alcohol tends to take it out of your system. So sometimes you have to take a little break and eat normal human being food. Right then. Now, just for your information, while I'm still eating, I'll get started in a second. The reason, delicious. There, it's gone now, promise. God, that was a nice cracker. Anyway, the reason that my windows all seem a bit weird when I open stuff and they all open off screen and stuff is because I've got 8 monitors going on. Okay, what I've actually got really is 2 monitors. I've got 2 4K screens, and they're split into a 4x4 configuration. So I've got 4 on the left, these are my main screens. I've got 4 on the right, these are my Discord screens, my streaming tools screens, and my note screens. Okay, the reason I've got that, I'm disgusting. The reason I've got that is because basically it makes it easier for streaming. I'm streaming in the lower right hand corner only. The rest of my stuff's for notes or whatever. It's very handy. Anyway, I wouldn't recommend it though if you're just using your screens for development. If you're playing video games, great, you know, big screen really helps. Doing development, no, it'd be a lot easier for me really having like 8 small monitors that I can focus on one at a time, or 4 even. I'm just greedy. Anyway, I can be greedy. I'm 49. Okay, my awesome chums. So what I'm doing today is working on fences. There's a couple of things I want to do. I want to do a little bit of experimentation as well. So I'm going to go to my workbench. And my workbench is just a level where I put things while I'm kind of doofusing around with them, experimenting and seeing what I can do. Now, I can see I've got a couple of interesting little scale prop issues maybe going on here, but I'll fix those later. So I'll get rid of them. Now, this is just a big, empty, vast area that I use for when I'm working stuff out. As you can see, I've got like a sky dome in here that I've been experimenting with and so forth. What I want to do in here is I want to come to my contents, my assets, and I'm going to make a new folder, which I'm going to call BP Fences, because that's what it's going to be. And inside here, I'm going to right click, make a new blueprint class, and this is going to be an actor.
Hot dog?
What?
What do you want in your hot
Tomato
dog?
sauce, please. Just one. And for this, I'm going to call it BP Fence Tool 1. Okay, so now I've got my fence tool, which I can literally drag out into my world whenever I want to. Now, if I open this up, cheers, man. Got a nice hot dog there that I'm going to eat in a very messy way and get all over my beard soon, so that'll be exciting. Now I want to pull in a basic part that I can use for my wall, like my wall root. I've got my default scene root in here, so let's see. This isn't a lesson, by the way, okay? A lot of the time I'm learning just the same as you are, just to point that out. So, mix scans, 3D assets, let's have a look at the static meshes. Anything that I can be using as a bit of fence at the minute. I'm sure I've got something. Oh, there's that. Let's have a look at that, see how this goes. Oops. Okay, so this is a pillar. Okay, kind of useful for this kind of thing. And I am going to just change its name to fence base 1. Okay, just so I know what it is. Now, I'm going to create a variable, and this is going to be called fence point, and my fence point is going to be a vector. And now that I'm going to expose it on spawn. Do I want to expose it on spawn? Probably. I want to open its little eyeball thing here as well, so I'm going to compile and save. I want to show my 3D widget so it appears when I do stuff. And yeah, that will probably do for the moment, so compile and save. Now if I have a look, there's a fence point just there. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of drinking of coffee. Hi guys. Oh, that's nice. Right, so anyway, the whole point of doing that is so that I can just come in here. If I click on this, I can click on my fence point and move my fence point. Okay, that's the only reason for it. Oh, that's nice coffee. Right, so this is going to be a construction script job. So there's my construction script. And what I want this to do is basically try and draw some fence between the construction script and my end goal. Yeah, so let me think. I'm going to bring in my fence base, and I want this to be, if it's not equal to, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just trying to remember how to do this stuff, to be honest. So there's a lot of stuff to do. I haven't done this in ages and ages, and you can like go there if you want. I might be quiet even, who knows? Who knows? No, then. Not equal. On force base. Dearie me. This is the not equals. We've got our two inputs. Now then, it should be not equal to on the vector. So not equal vector. There we go. That's the one I need, I think. I need to get the location, presumably, of this. There's a lot of tinkering going on here. You're going to see me tinker and, you know, stuff. It happens. Okay, so get world location of my endpoint. is nice and relaxing. By the way, you're just going to see me like goof around and do stuff. I should just probably warn you. Right. So, branch. I'm basically reading stuff on the other screen as well. Like I say, this isn't really, like, don't think of this as a tutorial by any stretch of the imagination, because it really isn't. A lot of the time, I'm doing stuff that I mean, if it's modelling stuff, then yeah, sure, by all means, but I'm kind of trying to work things out myself at the minute. Oh my god, how much tomato sauce did you put on this? That's a very big hot dog. I think I'm just going to eat the sausage. Right, so we need the difference on this. So got two value vector coming in. Now I want it to be able to calculate on the up vector as well, so I'm going to make it 1b1b1. That's multiplied in there. I'm going to eat the rest of this hot dog. Yummy. Yum. Right. So now we've got an event. Oh, that's nice. Right then, so I'm going to put a for loop in. Get the dimensions of my piece, which is here. So that is 36 by 36 by 100. Notepad. Although I can technically make that any size I want. I'll just get the size of this piece here. Right, I need to get rid of this bun. I don't want to eat it. Okay, I'll have a little bit of it. Yum. Alright. Right, so, sorry about that. I'm very greedy. Right, so here's fence base 1. Let me get my vector length. Now, is it my forward vector? No. I need my vector length. Yeah, it is that. I'm going to calculate that. Okay, this is a static mesh component, so I need to work on my actual vector itself, which is the end point. I've been doing this wrong. So, fence point here, which is a vector, because I'm an idiot. There we go. And I'm going to get my fence point and feed into this vector length as well, which I'll keep nice and separate down here. Right. Sorry about that. I was literally using the wrong bits, because I was thinking about delicious hot dogs, probably. Right, so this will return float value representative of the length of the vector. And then what I'll do is I'll divide that amount by the vector length of 36. Okay, so what I can do here is do a divide. So divide, we're doing a float divided by a float. Now I know this is 36, okay, so that gives us a result of whatever the return value is divided by 36. Now what I could do is I can round this up as well. Again, I'm tinkering, so yummy. Yeah, good idea. I'm going to floor on it. Okay, so it's for a equals 1 to whatever this is going to be, and then we can do our loop body, and then we can complete. Okay, this is kind of the fundamental building block. I know I'm losing people left, right, and centre on this, and I don't give a toss. You know, you can work it. Right. That's static mesh. Right. Now then. There it is. Static mesh component. I keep forgetting it didn't have the name fence base. It's got the name because it's like flipping. What do you call it? What do they call that bloody thing again? Gosh, Quixel models. Yeah, anyway, you get the point. Right. Oh, God. Attach actor to actor. Target is going to be base wall. There we go. Return value is target. Doesn't like that, does it? Let's see if we can do it a different way. Attach active to component. No, that should be parent, see. Attach, well, maybe not attach act then. No, is this going to be a component? Yes, it's component. So, attach component to component. Hello, 4 viewers. I'm very glad you're here. Not sure why you're here, but hey, how you doing? Okay. multiply this by 36. Make it into a vector. Let's see. So I'm going to set its relative location. So set relative location comes out of the make vector, and I want to connect that to my new location. That goes into there. Make sure it's all right. Now this doesn't have an attach to yet, so let's go over here and stick it onto there. Then I can have hours of fun basically bug checking this until I actually get it to work, which is exactly what's going to happen, by the way, my viewing chums, who have probably got this in the background as some sort of bizarre punishment for something you did wrong in a previous life. Just tidying up my nodes, that way I can inspect them a bit easier, because I hate messy nodes. If you've ever been in one of my classes, you know that's one of my bugbears. I hate messy nodes. Let's put this down here. Don't read C++ symbols, I don't need you to. There we are. Okay, make sure everything's more or less tidy. I can go up to there. Okay, that seems fine. So I've got my results coming through now. Right, so it's set the new location. So I'm going to compile. I haven't found any errors yet. Save, stop. Okay. I'm not seeing a whole world of stuff happening here, so let's edit my blueprint. And let's have a look at this. So let's see. Construction script comes into my branch and it's checking for true. Okay, so is my fence point, which is this, okay, different to 1, 1, 1, so the multipliers of 1 through this. If it is, it comes through here and it calls a true condition. The true condition then brings a for loop, so we get our vector length. Now is it vector length I need? I think it is. So our vector length comes in, I divide our vector length by 36 degrees, I get our return value. Our return value gives us our last index that we need, our first index being 1. We multiply our index by 36 and make that into a vector which sets its relative location on the x. Question, 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 perhaps I am not. Intriguing. Okay, so have a look at this again. You get to see me tinker again, isn't that wonderful? Okay, so I've added my static mesh component. Some tomato sauce on my desk. Yum. Okay, so I've got my for loop. My for loop reads the index number, comes in. Where's my for loop gone? Oh, there it is. I'm on the body. I'm going to add my pillar. Okay, thinking about this, trying to make sure I'm getting it right. Yum. Now check the parenting is right. Because I think it could be this attached component. Let's try that. I mean, it could be attach actor to actor. It could be attach actor to component. Attach component to component fence base 1. But I've just done that. Get those out of the way. So attach actor to actor, attach actor to component. Well, it's an actor, isn't it? I'm sure it's an actor. Or is it a component? Target should be a scene component. Let's pull an empty one in here then. So the return value should be my target. And then my parent should be my fence base. Okay. Location rules. Snap to target. Let's try that. Okay, and then presumably I can just run that straight down to there. Now, return value. Do I need a return value? Position. Okay, compile, save, link. Here's our fence point, being quite obviously not working. I've got everything in there right? I'm sure I have. I've got the set relative location on this. I know what I should do. I know what I should do. I shall look at the manual. Because I'm pretty sure that there will be a manual I can look at. There usually is. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my blueprint, open blueprint editor, there we go. Now, let's have a look at this. I'll come all the way through and just wipe everything again, get into my construction script, and now I need my, let's see, I need a spawn mesh and I need a secondary mesh. So I'm going to set static mesh. Fence base 1. There we go. Set to 2. Right, so I'm not going to use fence base 2, I'll use fence base 1. My new static mesh will be, I need to come down here and find it, that one. So it's UDKOFF, UDKOFF, and I'll use LOD 1. You know, I'll use LOD 2. LOD 2's got a lot less triangles. Okay, now my end point, which is my fence point, comes in here. Okay, so I'm going to get it. Well, I'm going to multiply it by a vector, and that's going to be 1b1 by, I'll just keep it 1b1b1 for a minute. Okay, now I'm going to get my vector length. And my vector length I need to divide by, so I'm divide by, and it's can we see, is by a float? Yeah, vector by a float. And I'm going to divide that by the width of my mesh. Now for this, therefore, let's see if I can get it right. It's returning a float. Okay, so it's float divided by float. So float divided by float, and over here my variables, I'm going to put fence width, which is going to be a float value. Compile, save, make sure it's a visual. Compile, save, drag that in. So there's my fence width. So now I can set that to the width of whatever I want my fences to be. Next, I'm going to round it. So this normally means rounding it up. You notice floor basically rounded it down. Next, I've rounded it up. I'm going to subtract 1 because I'm taking into account that the mesh already exists. So let me see, this is a vector minus an integer, is it? Or float minus an integer, let's see. Yeah, I think it's an integer minus an integer. There we go. So minus 1. And then if it's greater than, so if the integer is greater than 0, it will then go into this branch. Okay, and this branch will basically say, hey, if this is true, let's do a thing. Now on this minus 1, I'll come over that in a minute. Now we've set our static mesh, so let's just bring that all the way down to here. Okay, next we need to start running a for loop. So if this is true, which it is, drag it out. Have a for loop, no break. It's a for each loop, which is the wrong kind. We want a for loop, no each, no break. First index and last index. So the last index is this one before the minus 1 happens to it. First index is the number 1. Good. Next, we're going to add static mesh, which is going to be our, whatever we're using for our fence. So add static mesh. There we go. Target itself, manual attachment, yes. Relative transform, no. Next, for the index, I'm going to multiply that by another integer, and my integer is going to be, sorry, I'm going to multiply it by a vector, I think actually. I'm going to multiply this by a, is it a float? Actually, it could be a float. Yeah, it's a float. So I'll multiply this by a float for my fence width, which goes into here. Okay. Next, I need to get my actor location. So then with my actor location, I am going to do a add. So that is, I think it's vector plus vector. Then I need to get my fence point. Here it is. Feed my fence point into there. Okay, next I'm going to find its lookout rotation. So find lookout rotation. And I'm going to feed my target into this, so that's where it's basically going to be drawing itself to, which is a help. Now I need to break rot. So I'll break my no. That one. Okay, so we've got pitch and yaw and stuff. Okay, so roll, pitch, yaw. Next I'm going to make rot from my yaw. Okay, so making sure that my yaw and my yaw are connected, so it's this one and this one, not this one and this one, otherwise weird things will happen. Okay, so Z, yaw, Z, yaw. Next, return value comes into set world rotation for presumably my default scene component. Here we are, so default scene root, set world rotation. Hello Vasto, how are you? Hope you're keeping well. Now, let's see, I've got my set world rotation, I've got my mesh width, so let's move this over. I've got my add static mesh component here, so that's working. Excitement, isn't it? So let's do attach to. And we're going to attach to default scene root perhaps, or attach to component. Attach actor to component? Maybe. Is it an actor? It could be. Let's see. No, it isn't. So it could be a component then. I suppose that makes more sense, doesn't it? So if I'm attaching a component to a component, target is my scene component, so that helps. My return value is that, which is great. My parent is the start location of the fence. Now, how do I get the start location? Let me think. Oh, I know. I'll get fence 1. Okay, and feed it there. Okay, so that's our start. Right, I need to make a vector from the multiply, so let's move these down. And drag that across. Make vector. That's gone into the X, which it's supposed to. So now let's set its relative location. Okay, I'm going to set relative location. I'll put that as its new location. For its target, I think I need my mesh from over here. And then set static mesh. And it's going to be fence base 1. So that goes there. Now let's put this in as the target, which I don't think it should be. I think what it should be is the new mesh. It wants me to select the item, so we're going to use UDK O and it is LOD2. Okay, so that comes in there. And for the target, again, it's going to be the same. So it's going to be this one. Well, at least I didn't get an error. That makes a nice change, doesn't it? Unfortunately, I also did not get my blueprint to work, which is a fucking shame, quite frankly. So, let's see what I've done wrong this time. Firstly, I'm going to check my blueprint. Right, so I do have my fence point here. What show 3D widget on? Got my for loop. Endpoint vector is editable. Something very odd here. No, I don't seem to be able to get this to work the way I want it to. So, I've got my fence base, construction script, set static mesh, and my target. Right, the blueprint itself is not a static mesh component, therefore target must have a connection. So, it's a base fence. Put that in there. The new mesh. Static mesh component object reference not compatible with static mesh object reference because it's a component. It won't refer to it. So. Yeah. So let's have a look at the simulation of this then. So, simulation. So it comes down here. I can see it's coming into this branch, right? So it's just basically stopping when it goes into there. So it means that it's not actually checking anything. Now if I move this, so even if I connect true and false together, it doesn't go beyond this. Now the first index, let me sure that I've got my first index right. Yes, it's 0. So, loop body. Hang on a minute. For loop. So I've added my static mesh component to myself as a manual attachment using a relative transform. I'm indexing my fence width, which is 0. Oh Jesus. That's supposed to be 36, I think. That's what the error was. There we go, that's what the problem was. Yeah, what it was, set my actual fence point here. If you look at it, that's the error I've made, is my fence point. So if I go into my blueprint, so open my blueprint editor, it was a simple schoolboy mistake basically. So if I find my fence width here, it was set to 36 instead of being set to whatever, you know, it should have been set to, oh god, what's it called again? Well, yeah, it was set to 0 instead of 36. So that's where the problem was. Exactly, Brethren. So now I've got this basically tied on 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can make some vectors on this. Now I can move it in one direction, which is my X, okay, but can I move it on all of my vectors? That's my question. Let us find out. Yes, I can, so that's helpful. So if I detach my Z, there we go. So now these will hopefully, as you see, what they're doing is they're kind of averaging, yeah? So I'm getting some control. It's just kind of averaged between them and rounded up. And it's just going at a diagonal at the minute. So I can kind of control that if I want to, but compile save. It's just down to kind of what I want to do here. Now, what I can do with this is I can use it to create some wall, which is the important part. Now, first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to block out this so that I have a lot more control over this blueprint. Okay, because this was very much just a roughing it together one. So, in this one, what I'm going to do is, now, New mesh. Let's bring this out, and I'm going to promote this to a local variable. Okay, so new local var, which is a mesh, and for this I'm going to change its name to, let me see, wall mesh 1. Okay, so wall mesh 1. Now with wall mesh 1 I've got, this means I can adjust this at any time, so compile and save. Now, did I make this editable? I hope I did. Variable wall mesh 1. Why is this not down here? Here it is, local variable. Okay, so I'll convert this to a local variable. Let me just do this again. Promote to variable. There we are, that's better. So this is wall mesh 1. Okay, so wall mesh 1 is working. Next thing I need to do then is compile and save. Make sure that's editable. Compile and save. Next, I need to adjust these. So fence end points is there. Fence average width goes there. Okay, so now we know what these are. They're named sensibly. Okay, let's start setting things up. So over here, if I hit C and make this, let me see. Okay, so now my mesh is selected for replication as a wall. Now this part here is fence endpoint vector length round, so this works out how many I need. So works out how many wall parts thanks man, appreciate that. Works out how many wall parts need to be, I'll change that in just a second. Top spot and skills. Okay, so it works out how many wall parts need to be made as part of the wall. Now this part here is get location, get endpoint. Okay, so rotation and endpoints goes here. You see, this will become the very basis, the kind of basic thing here. Now, see this set world rotation? I didn't connect it to anything, and I assumed that I'd have to. Nothing's came into it. Oh, on completion, of course. So on completed, get world rotation. Set the location of the wall for alignment. Let me see. That will be the door. Amazon. That's a late arrival for my son of a SSD. Now then, SSDs make stuff so much better. Branch loop. So this is the replication loop. And then over here, attach and set location. There we go. Move that over there. Put that in there, just to make it a bit tidier. And I'll just tidy my nodes. And the reason I'm tidying my nodes, incidentally, is because I would like to be able to expand on this a little bit soon. So by doing this, it means I can clean it up. and make nodes a lot easier for me to see. All I'm doing is double clicking on them. It's very, very easy to keep your nodes tidy. So how are you guys in the chat? And gals? Could be gals in the chat. And if it is, you're very welcome as well. All Blue welcomes all ye lovers. Okay, so that one to that one. I think what I'm going to do actually is, if I just alt click there, I can connect this node and this node together to make them a teeny bit cleaner. I'm glad to hear. Good to see you again, Namir. I saw you came into our Discord channel yesterday, and so, you know, it's always great having new people around. Like I say, I'm trying, if I can, I can't guarantee I'll be able to stream every day because I've actually got some pretty large commitments to my workload this year, but I do want to get this done if I can. Welcome aboard, Breffin. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much for following. Right. Okay then. I was very fortunate the other day in that, as some of you may know, I used to run the website 3D Palace, which, you know, I still have a lot of the stuff from. And one of the old Illuminati of 3D Palace, a good old friend of mine, Squid, who used to help me compress all the videos back in the day and create content as well, reappeared. He'd been in Greece, and it's lovely seeing him again. Right, so I think I have got this tidy enough now. See, so that's tidy, yeah. So now what I need to do is, you take care, Breffin, okay? Have a good day at work, don't overdo it, be careful, wear your mask if you wear one, and hopefully see you later on, everybody. Now then, let me see, what was I doing? Yep, I remember. So I want the ability to be able to kind of drop between using different things, yeah? Now there's a way of doing that. So what I mean by that is, at the minute, right, we've got our meshes selected for replication, and we're only using one, which is this kind of wall mesh here, yeah? So what I want to do is I want to be able to have more than one object that I can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, rather than creating an array, which is tempting, because it would be tempting to create like an array of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, what I think instead might be more interesting is maybe randomizing the meshes that come in, you know, so I can choose between this mesh, that mesh, that mesh, that mesh, etc. It's a little bit more complicated and requires a teeny weeny bit more work. But what I could do is, you see where it says set static mesh here, I can actually expand on this. So if I move my construction script now, so that now the mesh needed for replication is kind of kept separate, what I can do is I can start working on building a little system to randomize how many meshes I have. Now, like I say, my wall mesh at the minute, I could actually try pulling it to being an array. So if I click here and set that as an array, change variable type. Okay, so now if I compile, you see we can't connect those pins together because wall mesh. What it actually needs to do is it needs to go through my array and pull out the value of the mesh in a for loop. So for that, what I would then do is, I'm just going to duplicate this, so Control W, okay, so wall mesh 1.0, and I'm going to change this one back to a standard mesh for the moment. There we go. Okay, so see, this is all correct now, wall mesh 1, I'll feed that into there. Now, what are you doing? Oh shit, yeah, wall mesh 1, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull my wall mesh 1.0, which is the one that I'm working on here. So get that, and I'm going to move it up here so that I've got a nice place to experiment, because I know that my BP fence tool's kind of working. Now, what I want to do is I want to be able to interrogate my wall mesh. So I'm going to look for a function. I need a function. Right, so I want to get a random array. Okay, so I need to work out the array length. So let me see. I need to, using this one, I use a for loop. So for each loop, okay, with break. Now we've got the execute and we've got the break here. Now on the loop body for this, with my array element. Okay, so I want to get its index. So let me see. Can I break this pin? I can't. That's a shame. Array index. Here we are. And I need to be able to change that. Now I can't set my array index there, but how can I read the elements? Let me have a look. Oh, I've got a little blueprint window up here. What do you want? Go away. I suppose if I set my index number to random. So what I want to do is get array element. I've achieved a random element from the array. That's nice. Okay, so if we get a random array element of its mesh, I think I actually need the toilet. Now then, what I need to do is see if this is going to work. So I'm going to set static mesh to there. I'm just going to look to the loo. So I'll just be right back. bird and my nose. So I can feed the element in as set static mesh. Okay, so if I move that to there, and the return value is a boolean. So target is static mesh component. Thank you, Namir. It's nice to be back. We might have a look at this in a bit. Let's see. I mean, it is, or certainly seems to be, working. It's a little bit delicate, but it'll work okay. If you look, what's happening is this is actually rotating around it as well, but that's okay. We can work with that. Now, what about ye up, ye downy bit? I mean, I'm glad that that's working in those directions. Let's see if I can make it go up and down as well. So, I find my vectors that I was using. Make vector, return value, set relative location. So, fence average width has gone in there. Make rotator. Okay, now, can I control this from over here? Not very easily, which is a bit of a bugger. I would like to be able to change my fence endpoint's height. If I can, so let's change this to 0, 0, 0. Whee! Okay, so now we have lots of these, and probably don't need them. So what I'm interested in here is making my vector for my relative location. Now at the minute what it's doing is it's indexing its average width. Can I change that to an average height? Yeah, that's basically set them off the ground by a set amount. It won't go any more than that. Okay, so this is how I'm setting the height here. So the return values at new location should therefore need a calculation to get the height of the piece. Okay, I've got another 10 minutes I can do before I need to go out. I'm going to go and get some milk, incidentally, so I'm probably going to only spend a little while longer on this. So we've got the actor location, we've got the fence endpoint, we're finding its lookout rotation, we're breaking the rotator. Make rotator and set world rotation for our default scene route, and that comes in. Now our fence average width, we make a vector. Now then, can I do something with the fence average height? That is the question. Okay, so fence average height is now being created. If I get fence average height and I multiply the fence average height by, I think this is by a float actually, isn't it? So I'll just get rid of that. So that's going to be an integer times a float. Put that into there, and set my fence average height to 100. Okay, now if I feed my Z height into there and compile and save. Right, there was a warning. Compile a BP fence tool successful. One warning though. Can't pass default value none for property wall mesh. Where's that warning at? Oh, local variable. Here it is. Am I using wall mesh one? Yeah, I am. Okay, so that immediately stopped working because I didn't like what it was being asked to use. Let's get rid of that. So I'll use that instead. Doesn't seem happy with that either. Did not seem happy with that, which could be because of that. So, construction script. Fence base, hang on, fence base 1, not fence base 2. Can't pass default value none for property wall mesh 100. Ah shit, that can go away. Right, compile, save. Right. So we have the ability to set this, but we don't have the ability to set its height. So, even though I'm trying to get it to break its rot and do that. Oh shit, it does work, never mind. So, where's the fence endpoint? Oh, that's fine. Wonky but fine. I can work with that. That works. That's okay. Now what I need to do is make sure that these things, their rotation on the Z is going in the right direction, because it's not really the rotation that's the problem. So if I alt click on that, yeah, that's not doing it. So okay, for loop, fence average width, blah de blah de blah, attach and set, make vector, set relative location, set static mesh. So I haven't set its rotation yet, have I? So set world rotation. You'll notice things are starting to happen a little bit here, I suppose. Target, it should be in there. Okay, so now these are standing upright the way they are supposed to be. Now I can put a teeny bit of randomized rotation into these if I want to. So under variable, random wobble, and for my random wobble this is going to be a float value. Compile, maximum random wobble, like so. Okay, now with the maximum random wobble, what I can do is I can set the rotations on those. So I need to make a wobble, which sounds mad, but there we go. So random, and it's going to be a random float. So this creates a random float between 0 and 1. Okay, so we've got a number between 0 and 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply that result. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that by another float. My other float is going to be my maximum random wobble. So get maximum random wobble. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this maximum random wobble into another amount. Now I'm going to control X because I want to bring this all the way back, okay, to the beginning. So I want to be able to set up my maximum wobble over here each time before I do anything else. And what this is going to do is it's going to take my maximum wobble and it's going to put it into a storage variable. So working store wobble, okay, and that's non-visible. Set working store wobble. Then I'll gear that to there and that to there. So now we have a wobble being set. Cool. Now what I need to do, keeping an eye on the time here, is basically every time this runs, I'm going to give it a little bit of wobble on our set world rotation. So, working storage wobble, get, split the structure pin. If I feed that into Z, compile. Now I don't think I have a maximum random wobble yet, so if I change that to maybe 10 degrees, and let's see if we can actually get some randomization of the world in this. It should do it every time we recalculate. See if I can feed it into a few other values. Could be that I've set a very, very low number here. Let's have a look. So I'm rotating. Let's see. So I'm multiplying my random float, which let's say it's 0.1, by the maximum random wobble, which is 10. So I think at most that would give me a 1 degree. Yeah, 500 or 150. Okay, so I can do that, but it's not doing it individually. Okay, it's supposed to come back and redo it again each time. So I think it should be part of this loop. So let's just get rid of that. Control X. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this value up in this loop. Okay, so here's the for loop. So every time the for loop runs, basically, so let's put that in between these, and that means it should change the value each time it runs. There, that's more like it. Now I can go to my maximum wobble rotation and set that to 10. There, and now we get a lot more variance, okay, because they're all kind of slipping and stuttering and stuff. Now if I change my fence average width to 50 and compile and save, excellent. Okay, so now we have a configurable tool that I can use for my various things. So let's go over here. Now my set static mesh is currently supposed to be wall mesh. Can I get the width of this? No, get the bounding logs. I need to calculate it really, so I'm not too worried about that. So wall mesh, and yep, this is absolutely fine. So I can set my value of wall mesh now to whatever that is. Go like that. Okay, or I can go like this. And nothing happened because it didn't bloody work. So set static mesh, new mesh. And that That's wall mesh. Oh god, this is not a local. Yeah, this is a local variable. I don't want a local variable. Go away. Right. Wall mesh. It's better. And wall mesh 1. So there we go. Make sure these are all open. Got an error happening here because it's pulling my wall mesh from something else. So fence base, that's this one there. Aha, so it's the target that needs to change. So I'll change fence base, which makes everything vanish, to static mesh is not compatible with static mesh component object reference. Okay, get section from static mesh. Oh, cool, I can get sections. Right, so I can get a section, I can add. I'm just going to use fence base 1 then for the minute. Right, so fence base 1. Ooh, got an itch. Means I don't really need this wall mesh because it's not doing anything. I need that one or that one. So compile and save. No errors. Right. So it's all down to what I've got the fence selected as. No errors in my scene, but I would like to be able to change this target. Promote to variable. Target. Compile, save. So now I have a target. And I'm going to change this to mesh. Compile and save. Here it is here. So doesn't look like anything wants to go in there. So it's just a component. Fence base 1. Now, can I set fence base 1? Add component. Common. So that adds the static mesh component. It's a manual attachment. I've already done this though, so that's not really an issue. I think I'm probably just going to have to work with what I've got. Oh, someone messaged me. I wonder who it is. Oh, it's Supermassive Games. Right, sorry about that, I was just talking to Supermassive Games. Oh, big follows and weird printed letters, how wonderful. Thank you for the weird looking letters. They, yeah, want to become famous. Oh yeah, buying followers off a dodgy looking website is almost certainly the best way of doing that. Yeah, ooh. Right then. It's amazing, this has existed for over 20 years, this whole kind of thing. I remember you used to get them on IRC all the time. Okay, so I've got these, I've got my fence posts, everything seems to be working okay. I'm going to click compile and save. So if I go content, turn off my static mesh filter and go into my assets, BP fences. I've got my BP fence tool, so I'm going to call this BP standard post. Okay, so this is BP standard fence post, and what I can do is I can basically now start building on this to make a more complicated blueprint, because it seems stupid, right? But all I'm doing really is basically building a fence along a path. But again, this is kind of important because we need to pay attention to random distribution, the fact that it'll hug the ground, and all sorts of things like this. Oh, KW IRC was fantastic. I like Discord, but you know what? It's so tempting to set up an IRC again, because if I did that, I could set up an IRC bot and people could just download my tutorials through that. It's a pity we don't have that kind of capability through Discord. I might look into it actually. I wonder if you can do a Discord file server. If I can. Interesting. It's here, server folders. What are server folders?
To announce that Discord now has...
That's exciting. IRC is dead.
Server folders.
Oh, great. That made a big fucking difference. Thanks, dude. Okay, so... Wow. Okay, well, I think I'll, yeah, I know. That's one of the reasons why I left the 3D Palace IRC, unfortunately, Crosswind. I loved IRC, you know, but it was like just shouting into the void. At least if I'm doing it on, you know, streaming or even on Discord, occasionally I'll see somebody, which I never, ever, ever do. Right. Discord file servers. Ha. Amazing. Right then, so let me see. I've done a bit of work on this workbench. I'm going to go into my clean template, because obviously these bollards aren't actually what I'm going to be using, but I want to see if they work for what I want. Now then, I don't appear to have a file inside of this yet, so if I just get this. Wow, well, that was exciting. I think I need to be kind of a bit more careful with that one. So let's get my fence endpoint. A little bit flaky, but manageable. Wow, this thing is quite glitchy, but I shall get there. I'm not one to, you know. I love that. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Yeah, have a look at these while I'm getting some stuff in. Oh, that's really good news. Amanda really likes the doll in that game, Little Hope, which is like one of those kind of horror game things by Supermassive Games, and trying to get a hold of a limited edition doll for it was fucking impossible, quite frankly. But we've managed to find one at last, so that is good news. I'm going to edit this script. No, yes, that one. Edit blueprint. Right, now let's have a look down here. Yeah, it's the rotate on this flipping thing. So, pitch. And yaw. Right, so that's the rotator. Rotate fence endpoint. It all seems okay, it's just a little bit kind of extremely rough, if you know what I mean. I'll put the wobble comment in. There. Done. Right, I think I am probably going to start heading off to go and get a bus to buy some milk in a few minutes, because I'm going to need some. I'll just have a final look over this. Now, if I go to the Unreal Engine Learning Portal, there's actually quite a lot of interesting stuff in here. But there's some fascinating stuff in here. And someone ripped off, you bastards, that was one of my tutorials. Oh well, such is life. There's some actual really good learning material in the hub now that I hadn't noticed before, so that's pretty cool. And there's a lot of them. A lot. Wow, loving it. Pixel streaming could be fun. Right, now I want to close down my project for a minute, so I'll come back to this and close that down, and it's time for me to roll this up. So until we meet again, my dear viewers who I love more than I love full fat cheese, I will see you all very soon. Until then, bye bye.